All right, welcome everybody to Fantasy Football Today Express. Let's talk about some ADP updates with Dave. I'm Adam. Dave is here, and here we go.
Dude.
I'm looking at our ADP, and it's a pretty cool metric. You know, you got this little up arrow. It tells you how high, or down arrow, how low players are falling or rising in the rankings. James Cook stands out. You know, I remember doing this ADP review a few weeks ago, maybe when we did our preview, and he was like a late round 3 pick. Now James Cook is 20th. He keeps climbing up, and he's up 3 spots to 20th overall, right after Travis Etienne, just before Isaiah Pacheco. What do you think about that for James Cook?
Cook is not only ahead of Pacheco, he's ahead of Marvin Harrison. He's ahead of Devon Achane. I don't know if that's much of a surprise, but that's another guy that's starting to move up our ADP. I think it's a little bit of a reach, and I know that James Cook is a popular pick. He was awesome last year after the play caller change in Buffalo until he wasn't. His final 5 games, including the playoffs, 8.6 PPR points per game, 0 touchdowns. He did have 97 total touches in those games, but 332 total yards. Really, it's the touchdowns that stand out. And when's the last time we had a really good, really consistent Buffalo Bills running back in the Josh Allen era? I don't know if we can really say that we've had one. And it kind of disappoints me when I think about how Cook finished last year. And you pair that with the early ADP, the fact that he's going in round 2, and I just don't like it.
All right, Nico Collins is another big riser. Nico Collins is up 5 spots to 31st overall. So Nico Collins is in the middle of round 2. He is going before Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, and Cooper Kupp, and Chris Olave, who's like a big faller. Olave in London, I don't really understand their ADPs on our website, but Nico Collins, one of the biggest risers right now, 5 spots up to 31st overall.
In 9 games with Tank Dell last year, Nico averaged 7.4 targets per game. Think about that number. And he came through with 16.4 PPR points per game. I still think that he can hit that number, even though Stephon Diggs is there too. I think he is their number 1 wide receiver. He might be locked into playing on the perimeter. You won't see him in the slot very much, but he can do it all. He's got underrated quickness out of his routes. He's got good hands. He's got great size. And they just signed him to a long-term deal. I think that he's got a great connection with CJ Stroud. I think he might have more bust weeks than maybe he had last year because Diggs is there, but I think he'll still have a lot of big weeks on top of that. I'm okay with this ADP in round 3.
Here's another wide receiver that's moving up, but he's into round 5 now, and he's Amari Cooper, up 4 spots to 55th overall. I started out the process a really big Cooper fan. I drafted him, I think, in 2 drafts recently in round 5. I do like that value for Cooper. But I'm getting
a little
nervous, though. I wanted to say, because I know he was really good without Deshaun Watson last year, but I watched Jameis Winston last year for the Saints, and he was bad. I watched Jameis Winston in the preseason game this past weekend, and I didn't think he looked very good at all.
No.
And Watson is having, a sore arm. I don't know what he looks like, but he hasn't been a good quarterback in 3 years. So I'm actually starting to get a little nervous about Amari Cooper.
The thing that keeps me interested in Cooper is that I think he'll be the number 1 leader in targets for the Browns, and that's kind of a generic basic statement. But I think the Browns, without Nick Chubb there, I don't know if they're going to run as much as we've been used to seeing them run. I think they're pinning their hopes on Deshaun Watson being ready to go, resting him up now so that he can throw every week during the season. And so if you put those 2 facts together, Amari Cooper should be able to be okay. He averaged almost 18 PPR points per game in Watson's 5 games that he played last year. That was 4 games with 15 or more full PPR points. I feel like he's one of those settle for wide receiver 2s. He's just outside my top 24, but I think he's worth a price tag in late round 5.
Let me give you this under Steven Stefanski.
Steven Stefanski.
Cleveland has ranked in the top 3 in running back carries all 4 seasons, but this has been their run rate. 4th, 7th, 9th, 13th. It's declined 3 straight years. That's their run rate. They ran the most plays in football last year, but
my hunch is that continues to slide back toward the middle of the pack. And
they want to throw. It's so obvious from everything they've done that they want to throw. All right, we're going to take a break and come back and talk about some more ADP risers, including Najee Harris. Should he be up as high as he's 9 spots up, Najee Harris? But Jaylen Warren could be back for week 1. We'll be right back. Jaylen Warren says he's fine. He's going to be ready for week 1. Najee Harris, one of the biggest risers, 9 spots up to 60th overall. that is the 5-6 turn. Too early for Najee?
It's starting to get to that point where we're a little too early on Najee Harris, but we have seen from him. Here's kind of the problem. Each of the last 2 years, he started slow. And we can say that 2 seasons ago, it was because of the injury. Last season, it could be because of the play caller. His final 7 games after the play caller was fired last year, 13.9 PPR points per game. That's what I would expect from a running back that's taken in that round 5-6 range. I do think that Arthur Smith is going to continue to get cute as far as usage of his running backs, which means that there's going to be some games where you're going to scratch your head at, why is Najee only touching the ball this much? Why is Cordero Patterson on the field? Where's Jalen Warren? And it just might be too much of a split. And then you saw the offensive line in the preseason. I think that's going to be a work in progress for the first half of the year for the Steelers. Quarterbacks are going to be kind of an iffy spot for them as well. Defenses will adjust to that. I would like him better if Justin Fields were under center, but I think it's going to be Russell Wilson. If we find out that it's Fields in week 1, that helps Najee's cause. He's, again, one of these settle for players when you're really in need of an RB2 and it's getting to round 6, or if you want an RB3 and you're in round 6, that's where Najee comes into play. But it's got to be round 6. I think round 5 is just too soon, and that's the direction that he's trending in.
Yeah, I think that I have a hard time with this ADP sometimes. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But the next 2 guys after Najee Harris at 60th and 61st are Malik Neighbors and George Pickens.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Bye, Najee. Nice knowing you. Najee who?
T. Higgins 3 spots later. So
Najee what?
Yeah, I like Neighbors seems to go first among those 3, but more like, I mean, in the FFT Open in my division, he went 20. I think he went 24th.
It almost feels like the running backs are starting to get pushed up a little bit. I guess I hesitate with that because DeAndre Swift is a guy that's falling. But in our ADP, it looks like there's the bull run on running backs is happening. Might be happening in your leagues too. And we were just in a draft yesterday where 15 of the first 24 picks are running backs.
Right. So what do you think about that? DeAndre Swift being one of the biggest followers, and Raheem Mostert too. They're both down 7 or 8 spots, and now they're in round 6. So they were round 5 picks. We don't want Swift or Mostert in round 5. Do we want them in round 6?
I'm still going to be skittish on DeAndre Swift in round 6. I think he's a round 7 pick. I know that he's delivered good numbers for half of last season. I think in Chicago, he'll split too much, including with Caleb Williams at the goal line. And that's a team that looks destined to throw the ball a lot. And I don't think Swift will be as involved as you might think. So I would rather have him in round 7. And I'd rather have Mostert in that round 7 range as well. Both of them are top 80 picks for me. Mostert, more of that 0 RB type of target where you can count on him for the early portion of the season. And I think he might actually be the 1A running back for the Dolphins to begin the year. But it's not somebody that you should count on to be anywhere near as good as he was last year, or to play in as many games as he played in last year.
Last guy I want to ask you about is Javonte Williams, up 7 spots. Now he's 81st. And look, if you're looking at our ADP and you see that a guy is up 7 spots and his ADP is now 81st, well, that means that recently he's going a lot sooner than 81st, because this is the average of what he was before this boost and what he is now. So you have to be ready. If you want Javonte Williams, do not think you can wait until the 81st or 82nd pick to take Javonte Williams. You should be ready to take him earlier. Do you like Javonte Williams ahead of Swift and or Mostert?
I do. And it took the preseason to convince me. It took hearing from Sean Payton to convince me, hearing from others that cover the Broncos to convince me. I think he's their best all-around back. He is going to share, but I think he's going to be the one that ends up leading this team in all the stats that you want. I'd be okay with super late round 6, like maybe that last pick in round 6, but early round 7 ahead of Swift and Mostert for sure.
That's it for Fantasy Football Today Express. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow.